What's up, Broncos country? It's been a long time and I couldn't be more ready. So let's talk Broncos.
What do you want to do?
I don't know. What do you want to do?
I know.
Let's talk Broncos. Welcome into a brand new edition of Bronco Talk, where we talk Denver Broncos football. In today's episode, we are talking Dallas and Denver Week 8 matchup. Dallas coming in, Denver sporting throwbacks. And I'm so stoked to be back. Had a little bit of a hiatus. A lot of things have changed over the last year. Had our fourth child, moved from one state to the next. It's been a little busy, but I think I'm ready to rock and roll and make videos and other content for you guys so that we can stay connected. And Broncos country, the threads can just get stronger and stronger, and we'll continue to be the best fan base in the NFL. Like I said, a little bit of a hiatus. We moved from one state to the next, had our fourth child. But the cool thing about this is moving to a different house in a different state, we were able to have a little bit more room. And I've officially got my own office. So I'm working on the decorations. It's not the best, but hey, we're ready to roll. I didn't want the 2025 season to totally pass by without putting an actual video, not just me chugging a Red Bull and acting silly and getting hyped for the game, but actually give you my insight, my analysis, and how I see specifically this game rocking and rolling and how we're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys. That'll come a little bit later, but just to talk about what the storylines are each week, each day, each month, how I see us going into the month of November, December, and obviously think that we're going to go on a playoff run. So without further ado, let's talk Broncos. And like I said, we're talking about Dallas and Denver. It's today. This is the pregame episode. And I think that little preview, we're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys. But here's how we're going to do it. I'll give you three keys to the game, a couple of bold predictions, and then a final score prediction. So you know where my head's at. I know where your head's at if you leave some comments. So don't forget to like this video, comment, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to stay in contact, grow this channel, and have Broncos country all connected together. So first key to the game is to limit the penalties, the silly mistakes, the pre-snap penalties, especially playing at home. You shouldn't have them penalties. The false starts. I can respect a good hold if your quarterback's going to get blown up, but my biggest bugaboo about this team thus far has been its lack of discipline, especially for a Sean Payton coach team. I just don't believe that they're exhibiting the type of discipline that I expect out of a veteran coach, someone like a Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, even Pete Carroll. Like this Andy Reid, this whole division is full of coaches that are experienced and veteran and up in age, and you'd expect that as a whole this division would be very disciplined, but in actuality, what I'm focused on is the Denver Broncos, and I see some silly penalties, some bonehead mistakes, and it could have cost us last week with I believe it was John Franklin Myers, who's a veteran, who's a good voice on the team, and someone that I look to for leadership. And I believe it was him that had that roughing the passer penalty on 4th and 19, where I'm not sure that the Giants converted, but that would have been a totally different discussion if the roughing the passer penalty towards the end of the game didn't even happen. We could have been like, hey, let's get a virtual measurement. Were they short? Turnover on downs, basically ball game over. And like I said, pre-snap penalties, those are mental errors, and I think that's a huge key to the game, especially with the Dallas Cowboys team, who got CeeDee Lamb back from injury. Javonte, big shout out to Pookie, a huge fan. He was my favorite running back since I can remember. Clinton, obviously we've got the greats, Terrell Davis, Clinton Portis, and then we've had a slew of other ones that put up 1,000 yards and gave us a lot of great memories. I think he's probably my favorite since C.J. Anderson. So, we had a good 6 years between C.J. Anderson, if not more, maybe a little bit less, between C.J. Anderson and Javonte Williams. And when we drafted him that draft, I initially wanted Najee Harris because I thought if we didn't go running back in the first round, then we weren't going to draft one until we were going to do our typical strategy where we'll take a flyer on some guy in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round, maybe even the 7th. But so after we didn't pick Najee Harris in the first, I was like, I really like Javonte Williams. I like Pookie, but I just don't see us getting him, and I was super hyped when we did draft him, and I thought that, he was going to be the next Clinton Portis or even Mike Anderson, someone that's just a steady force, a running back that will just be there for years, even dealing with injury and his knee just getting blown up. I thought he was going to come back and have a revival, and he showed signs of that, and his ability to catch out of the backfield gave him versatility and reasons why I still believed in him. But for him to go to Dallas and have a revival, super happy for him, super proud to say that I've never given up on Javonte Williams, just not this week. So the discipline is going to come into play, because we can't give them third and short. We can't let them exercise flexibility with someone that I think is a very good running back that can pass block, catch out of the backfield, run for solid yardage, push the pile on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 3rd and 3 even. If we can get him to 3rd and medium and really rely on that man-up defense, and I really wish Dre Greenlaw was playing. I think it's really unfortunate that the suspension was upheld. If you missed it, Dre Greenlaw kind of chased after a referee post-game, yelling at him. I have been busy this week, so unfortunately I don't have any news or any understanding of what he said, if that ever came out, but it sounded like it was threatening. And an interesting side note, the referee threw a flag after the game was over. Willets made the field goal, dog pile or whatever the case. Dre Greenlaw didn't like what the referee did or something like that, chased him down and said something profane and was suspended. And the reason why I mentioned Dre Greenlaw is because we also have to limit Jake Ferguson. I think that if you play disciplined football on both sides of the ball and limit the tight end threat, then we're going to be able to play Riley Moss and PS2 man-to-man on CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, and then really kind of make the run game beat you. I really have a strong, affinity for Dak Prescott. I think, his career kind of got derailed for a couple of years, and then the Dallas Cowboys are always in turmoil, giving up people like Micah Parsons that should be a no-brainer, pay the man type of deal. But, losing Zeke, who, when they came into the league, it was like a 1-2 punch. The offensive line was pretty potent, allowing the run game to take pressure off of Dak, and he really found himself, got to a second contract, and I think he's a good quarterback, and when healthy, he's able to pick apart a defense. He may not be, playoff Dak is not necessarily who you want as far as historically to lead your team in the playoffs, but in the regular season, he is pretty good. And so what I would say is, if we're able to neutralize Jake Ferguson and play man on the outside, that'll allow us to stop the run and hopefully pressure Dak to a point where he's going to make a mistake here or there. And that's the third thing. We have to get at least one turnover. So my keys to the game are to play discipline, just penalty free, or as penalty free as possible. In a football game, you kind of expect a couple of flags, 2, 3, maybe even up to 5 flags on your team, playing aggressive. Things happen. You might get a roughing the passer penalty because you were going full bore and didn't pull up, and that's unfortunate, and it might change the tide of a game if it's in a crunch time situation. But you take that. Someone that comes to mind that did that a lot actually in our Super Bowl run was Malik Jackson. He would be playing aggressive and then just have an untimely roughing the passer penalty, and our defense, and I will say this year's defense is kind of as advertised. We've had a little bit of a slow start, but I think you want to hit your peak at the right time, but this defense is advertised, and then that 2015, 2016 defense, similar scenarios where there was penalties on defense for being aggressive, but we were strong enough to bend but not break and force some turnovers, and obviously we had ball hawks and Aqib Talib and Chris Harris Jr. And then, of course, TJ Ward wasn't, he was more of a roaming linebacker safety type, but he could catch an interception. He did so in the Super Bowl. So we kind of had a defensive back group that could reel in the interception and turn the ball over. So we were able to get ourselves out of some of those key penalties, but you don't want to see the 7 or 8. That's just been so frustrating when we're third and long or third and medium, and we've got a defensive holding, and it's like now they get a first down or it puts them closer, whatever the penalty might be, an offsides penalty, and they're closer to the 3rd and 6 goes to 3rd and 1, and they're able to convert on a short run, a QB sneak or something like that. So the disciplined football, and then as long as I can remember, Denver's had trouble with the tight end, and Jake Ferguson's having a great year. So we have to neutralize Jake Ferguson, and then, like I said, if we can do that, then we can play man-to-man defense on the outside for the majority. I know Vance likes to mix it up, but bringing that pressure and then ultimately getting a turnover, winning the turnover battle. But I think that we can play secured enough offense to where winning the turnover battle might just be getting one turnover, and that could be as small as getting a turnover on downs, late in the game, because it could come down to that. It could come down to Dallas driving, and no one's really had a turnover, and we have to stop them to win the game, and that could come down to a turnover on downs. So I would like to see a Pat Surtain interception, Alex Singleton forced fumble, or Hufanga force someone that is a traditional tackler that can punch the ball loose. Justin Sternad, he was the hero or the one that changed the momentum last week. So even a Justin Sternad or a Riley Moss or Macmillan, or even hey, you know what? It might be my bold prediction. Jahdae Barron getting an interception. I would like to see Denver possibly just line Jahdae Barron up on Jake Ferguson. I know he's a bigger body, but the ball skills are there, and I think Jahdae Barron could match up well. So as far as my bold predictions, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Rook gets his first pick, takes it back to the house. Pick 6, Jahdae Barron today, which obviously that hits on one of our keys to the game where we get a turnover. The second bold prediction is that RJ Harvey has a 100-yard game. And then not so much a bold prediction, but something I'm looking for is I think Evan Ingram catches a touchdown today. It might be a bold prediction considering that most of Broncos country has grown tired or restless with Evan Ingram's lack of production, but I think he shows up in key points. I think he started the season off with an injury, so that wasn't fortunate at all to have these expectations, the joker role, the tight end, that we can look to kind of spread out the defense and make those plays over the middle, and then to have an injury and then obviously rehab. And if you're in the NFL, especially as long as Evan Ingram's been in the NFL, you want to be on the field. You're not just mailing it in. If you didn't have the passion to be on the field at this point of Evan Ingram's career, I think he probably would hang it up. And I truly see passion out of Evan Ingram when he runs his routes, when he's trying to make plays, when he's blocking, if and when he does put that skill set on the field, it is like he wants to be there. So ultimately, I think Evan Ingram, I believe it's National Tight Ends Day, so that's why I see Sean Payton drawing something up where Evan Ingram gets in the end zone. And as Broncos country has come to know, a lot of the rumors about Sean Payton not being a player's guy or someone that players really want to flock to, he's kind of dispelled those rumors in Denver, and I could see him drawing something up for Evan Ingram to get himself in the end zone. And quite frankly, the Garrett Bowles touchdown, I saw some critics of that, or possible touchdown, the route where Bowles was eligible and should have caught a touchdown last week. Just goes to show you the creativity. If Nix lobs that over the, I believe it was the defensive end, potentially linebacker. I'm drawing a blank right now. And rather than tries to throw it through him, Garrett Bowles has a touchdown, and no one's criticizing the play call. It might have even been viewed as the momentum shift play of the game, because when you get a lineman a touchdown, it really is kind of demeaning. I remember when that happened with against the Broncos, where defensive tackle for the Chiefs. Anyways, he threw a touchdown to what running back for the Chiefs, and it was like a 2-yard pass, but it was just so demoralizing. So for a defense, kind of that happening to you leads to just feeling frustration and maybe making more mistakes. So keys to the game, and bold predictions down. My last thing I said I'd give you to look for is a final score. My final score prediction today. Last week I turned my community on. I posted I was a little bit off. Most of the time I do feel like I'm within range of what the score is going to be, but who could have predicted a 33-point fourth quarter for Denver? Who could have predicted really New York coming into Denver and giving that showing? I know that there were some pundits that saw that it was possible, especially with Denver having that long road trip and then coming back home, and more often than not, teams that do that get a bye week. That just didn't happen for us, and on the back end of that, getting a victory and having a full week at home and playing your opponent on a home game, back-to-back home games, you really, in retrospect, are thankful that you didn't take a bye, because now that bye is pushed back towards later in the season, and you made it through that stretch. So I'm really proud of Denver for doing that. And then so that was very unpredictable. But this week, more traditional week, a home game following a home game, and Dallas, they didn't have a Monday night game, Thursday night game, I don't believe. I'm trying to remember. No, it was a Sunday game. Dallas having a traditional week, Denver having a traditional week, us sporting the throwbacks, so I know the crowd's going to be ready to rock and roll, rock the house. I love when it's throwback week. I love the fact that we've got 3 throwback weeks this year. I just believe that the environment and the sigh of relief that Denver collectively as a city and as a team and the coaching staff breathed when we won that game last week just led us to kind of get locked in this week. We had that sigh of relief, and then obviously Sean Payton said post-game that it's good to win, but we're going to enjoy this tonight. Got a lot to work on. I think that will ultimately show up today in Dallas. I'm not discounting them. My final score prediction, I wrestled with this a little bit. I've been predicting 10-point wins for Denver, and it's not a theory of mine. I do believe in this defense, so I don't necessarily believe that opponents are going to put points up against us. At the same time, Dallas does have a formidable offense. They do have wide receivers. George Pickens, as soon as they got George Pickens, I mentioned how I thought that was going to be an amazing wide receiver tandem. Like I said, I have affinity for Dak. I'm glad that we only have to play them every 4 years, unless, we meet each other in the Super Bowl, which Cowboys fans are always going to the Super Bowl. Every year it's that tattoo, Super Bowl champs. They get it before the Super Bowl, and it's like, cross it out, do the next one. But in reality, schedule speaking, we are going to play each other every 4 years, so I'm thankful for that, because I am not a huge fan of having to face mobile quarterbacks that also are pocket passers. I think that's what ultimately leads to Denver struggling. Same thing with Jackson Dart last week. He's a rookie, not a lot of tape on him. Especially with the fact that he didn't start the season. He sat behind Russell Wilson for a few games, but we tend to, those pocket passers that are mobile, the Aaron Rodgers, not anymore, but prime Aaron Rodgers, even Ben Roethlisberger to a degree, Tom Brady we often beat because we were able to pin our ears back once we got the lead and just rush. But you see people like Dak or somebody that is big bodied, can fight through, and I'm not saying that is Lamar Jackson, but someone that's mobile, able to break, contain, and find a guy on the run, or even rush for a handful of yards. Jalen Hurts, I feel like that he exhibits that style. A lot of those big-bodied quarterbacks, but also mobile and accurate. So I do think Dallas is going to put some points up. I originally was thinking 21-13. But I do think that the package, or what, I have a feeling like Evan Ingram's going to be more involved today, drawing some stuff up, and I do believe that putting up 33 points is hard to back up, especially when you only do it in one quarter. But Denver as a whole is going to be better offensively. And so I was like, well, maybe it'll be a 24. I want to think that we'll be in scoring position more. And Will Lutz has actually impressed me more this year than he did last year. So let's get a couple of field goals in there. Actually, originally was like 24. Well, let's go 27. So final score, Denver 27. And then I thought about it. And I all those points I gave to you about Javonte being revived in Dallas, George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb being formidable duo, a 1-2 or 1-1A, 1B type of situation where Dak is able to rely on more than just one target. And then you got Jake Ferguson. So offensively, they present as a juggernaut. We defensively, I truly believe, if we're able to neutralize the tight end, we can man up with anybody, whether it be CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, or any other weapons. I think that we have the defense to go against them, but I do think that the Cowboys are going to put up some points. So despite my early thought process, my final score prediction is Denver 27, Dallas 23, and I could totally 1,000% see Denver having to hold off Dallas in a final drive, similar to last week, actually, when that didn't even come into play. We didn't hold back Jackson Dart. He got in the end zone, and we were able to play perfect last second offense and get Will Lutz a fairly easy field goal compared to what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be 50 plus. We got him within 40 and he nailed it, and that was absolutely amazing to see. But thank you for tuning in, Broncos country. If you haven't already, please like this video, comment your final score prediction, and give me some bold predictions. I like the bold stuff because you really have to step out of your shell and say something silly like Jahdae Barron pick 6. First interception, first pick 6 for the Rook, and I could see us trying to use him as kind of like a specialist against the tight end in this game if Vance Joseph is willing to go into his bag. So give me your bold predictions and leave a final score prediction. Who knows? Maybe one of us will get it right. So thanks for tuning in. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let's go Broncos.